Welcome to Critical Junction, episode 34. I'm Mark.
I'm Luke.
I'm Joe.
And ever since we landed on the moon, there have been people who've argued we didn't. They claim the Apollo missions were some kind of elaborate hoax orchestrated by NASA, sometimes with the aid of other organizations, to avoid humiliation and ensure they continue to receive funding. These people are what I like to call wrong. Traces of the Apollo missions remain on the moon to this day, including the retroreflector arrays used to measure the distance between Earth and the moon via laser ranging. The latest in a long line of space-related conspiracies involves the recent Falcon Heavy test launch by Space X, or as the conspiracy theorists like to call it, Fake X. According to one variation of the conspiracy, eccentric billionaire and the closest thing we currently have to Batman, Elon Musk, murdered someone, stuffed the body in a spacesuit, loaded it into his Tesla Roadster, and shot the whole thing into space.
Oh, what a good idea.
Did Elon Musk get away with a perfect
Nobody's going to
murder?
recover that body.
Yeah, right.
Then there's the more generic theory of how the launch never actually happened and was created entirely out of CGI, or the multitude of others one can uncover by doing a quick search of the Fake X hashtag on social media. Of course, none of these theories are backed up by any kind of substantive evidence and can easily be debunked with just a little bit of critical reasoning. So my question is, why do people continue to believe in these conspiracy theories? According to a recent article in the psychology journal Current Directions in Psychological Science, the reasons can be grouped into three major categories. The first, the desire for understanding and certainty. The second, the desire for control and security. And the third, the desire to maintain a positive self-image. But is there a particular demographic that is more prone to conspiratorial thinking? And why do these conspiracies continue to propagate despite being so easily disproved? But before we get into that, let's talk about the actual conspiracy theories themselves.
Okay.
We're talking about the original moon landing.
We can go either moon landing or we can go directly to the Fake
To
X.
Fake X.
Yeah, in terms of the moon landing, I was watching a little documentary about some people that believed it may be fake kind of thing. And it seems to be that you can really only look at it cumulatively, like looking at various things and then going, okay, maybe it's not true kind of thing. Not just one thing stands out as making it seem fake or anything like that. So there's the idea of they're looking at the filming of what happened with the original moon landing and it being suspicious in and of itself. So the shadows often coming from multiple directions, whereas there should only be shadows coming from one direction.
Okay.
This is what they often bring up. So there should only be the shadows from the sun being created. Mm-hmm. But I'm assuming that there was lighting for the cameras as well when they were shooting this stuff, because when they're coming, when the astronauts are coming out of the craft to step out onto the moon, Neil Armstrong, he is lit up very well. Mm-hmm. And considering the footage itself looks shitty, he's lit up well. It seems very kind of suspicious, I suppose you could say. So that's one thing. There was that idea of there is a lot more radiation on the moon as well. I brought this up in the car ride over, Gilles.
Right, yeah.
And Gilles very quickly
because you said that you had read one of the theorists claiming that the radiation would require 8-inch thick walls of lead to protect from the radiation.
Yeah.
And, I mean... clearly, they didn't actually build a ship that had 8-inch thick walls of lead. Like they couldn't even get that thing up into space. It would be so heavy.
Yeah.
But so they just throw out this kind of claim that radiation requires 8-inch thick walls of lead. How about like people that are just wearing like an apron of lead when they get like their teeth X-rayed or whatever.
Yeah, I've always wondered about that.
Is that just like to make us feel better?
How come
like
not
we don't have
the other parts of our body
wall of lead covering the rest of our body.
It's true.
Well, The Guardian ran a list of the bunch of different moon hoax claims and the actual rebuttal. The radiation thing is one of them, and so is the shadow thing.
Yeah. So what you got there? It sounds like you have a list.
There's a list. It's a long and interesting list.
Well, what are the more interesting ones, isn't it?
Well, let's talk about the shadow thing first. So the claim is pictures show shadows cast by objects on the surface at different angles. There must have been multiple light sources, such as a TV studio. Right? Why? It's nonsense. A low sun and uneven surface can distort the angles of shadows in images, but if there were multiple light sources, why does each object cast only one shadow? The moon is an alien place, and people who raise these questions simply aren't in a position to comment about what we should expect there.
One thing I've seen is them claiming multiple light sources because they're looking at two different pictures taken from two different angles.
Right.
There's one of them where they're analyzing the flag because they have a picture of the front of it and they have a picture of the back of it.
Right.
And then they're all baffled by the fact that the shadow is going one way in one picture and the other way in the other.
There's also they raised the claim of the flag. The planted U.S. flag waves in the wind, which is impossible without an atmosphere.
It's got a little rod in the top.
Yeah.
And it just waggles
it's
with
the movement.
It's waggling from the actual movement and spring in the
as the guy's trying to set up the flag. Yeah,
right.
you're right. You're right. I watched that a few times, and yes, it is evident that seems to be the case.
Now, the radiation thing: Apollo astronauts could not have traveled to the moon, as a giant belt of lethal space radiation would have frazzled them. And why that's nonsense, the so-called Van Allen belts, where the Earth's magnetic field collects solar radiation, would be dangerous only if people were to hang out there for several days.
Right.
The astronauts whizzed through in a matter of hours and received a radiation dose similar to an X-ray.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so no, it's just
Right.
what I like to call wrong.
What I like to call.
So yeah, those are a couple of the moon landing hoax claims.
Looking politically at the time period, it does make sense that it would have been cheaper to have faked it, just to claim that they landed on the moon. It would have been a lot cheaper. And
there's a note of plausibility there that the U.S. government would want to, at any cost, at least make the Russians think
we landed on the moon.
Yeah,
look at us. We're going to win the war now.
Right, we're winning the space race. We're on the moon now.
Yeah. Like it was a competition.
Yeah, our rocketry is better than your rocketry, and subtly that means that our missiles are better than your missiles.
Right.
Yeah.
But we went to the moon.
And nowadays they just don't even bother though. And you've got Putin just saying my missiles are better than your missiles, and they can't be shut down. They just say shit now, and that's good enough now.
Well, so why don't we go to the moon anymore, though? I wonder.
NASA's planning a return mission.
Oh, okay.
Like in, I think, 2020 or something. Or it could be next year. I don't know. But we're going back. They're I think this week they launched a couple of relay things so that there's going to be mobile internet on the moon for this new mission or whatever. I could be totally off base with that.
Oh, isn't that a Musk thing, an Elon Musk thing? To make a space-based internet?
No, those are the satellite internet beamer things.
Oh, okay.
That's the Space X thing.
They want to make sure when they go to the moon they don't lose their data. Like they want to be able to get their Freedom Mobile up there. Is that what you're saying?
Shout out to Freedom Mobile. If Freedom Mobile is listening to the show, you can sponsor us by using #FakeX, so we can totally co-opt that hashtag and use it against the conspiracy theorists, because that'd be really funny.
Sounds good.
Yeah. The fact is, we went to the moon, and the evidence is up there. Like there are pieces of the Apollo missions, like I said in the intro, just hanging out.
You can see the reflectors through a good enough telescope.
Yeah, like if you have a good enough telescope, you can see the piece of the lander that's still up there. You can see the reflectors, and if you have a powerful enough laser, you can just shoot a laser beam at the moon, wait till it reflects back to the receiver thing, and calculate how far the moon is from the Earth.
Yeah,
they were left there for that exact purpose.
Well, they could have been shot up there, though, right?
What?
These reflectors?
Like a grappling hook?
No, but I mean, they could have been sent up in unmanned spaceships, is what I'm saying. Right? They could have had the Russian dog put it up there.
Yeah, but you just apply
poor little Laika.
Just apply Occam's razor to that claim and be like, well, why would they do that? If it's simpler just to acknowledge the fact that some dude put it up there when we went on the manned Apollo mission. Right? Yeah. Why waste all this time and energy faking the moon mission and then sending reflectors up?
The reason for faking it would have been to go look at the size of my penis. We're going to win the war.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, why wouldn't they have just gone there if they were intending to shoot these things up in a separate unmanned mission in the first place?
Well, there seemed to be issues with. If there was issues with just landing that craft up there, they didn't have any experience landing a craft on another foreign place.
We didn't have any experience landing things on Mars, and look how many landers we have up there now.
But unmanned, once again.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But the fact is, they were able to calculate a trajectory, and the ability to land on another planet. It's calculus.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's actually probably it may actually be easier to land on no atmosphere.
I would think so.
Low gravity.
Low gravity. It makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Although, have you seen the footage of the astronauts scooting around on the moon, but sped up? Because it really does look like they're just on Earth. Like,
really?
Yeah. Like, it looks exactly like they're just trotting around.
Even when they're bouncing and the guy like trips over himself and his
I don't know. I haven't seen all the
legs kind of
footage.
get swept out from under him and he falls forward, right? Like,
I'd have to watch it. We would have to watch that scene sped up and see. But I have seen them scooting along and kicking up the moon dust, and it really does. You speed that up a little bit, and it really does just look it's someone in Area 51 that could be faking it, kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
Like it does look like it's possible, but I haven't seen this particular trip,
right,
that you're talking about, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think that trip happened. No, maybe not. They like went up there and pretended to play golf and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
At some point, I think it was in the midst of that stuff that
I think
you see the guy tripping over.
The stumble, yeah.
There's
also the claim of the faked footprint. So the claim is the famous footprints on the lunar surface needed water to form, otherwise they would settle out, and as they do in dry sand. Why it's nonsense. Most moon dust is a different size and shape from sand and doesn't need moisture to hold a compressed shape. Many powders on Earth can behave in the same way. Mm-hmm. So talcum powder, for
Not to mention that there's no air currents or anything to blow around the sand. There's no...
right. Yeah.
You know,
but there is the actual craft taking off afterwards, and the power that it would have taken to lift that craft up, and it not disturbing that footprint. Is that footprint still claimed to be there? That initial footprint of him stepping onto Mars?
Well, I mean, the footprint isn't right under the boosters. Like, why?
But would the boosters not disperse this fine powder?
There's no air to be dispersing everything and blowing everything around. Yeah. Right. So it's much more of a focused. Like area that's being affected by any rocket booster. Because you don't have any air that's being pushed to go and disturb what's adjacent to it, right?
Yeah. Along similar lines, the missing flame. So the claim is there was no exhaust flame from the lunar module when it blasted back off the moon. Therefore,
it's true. It does look very suspicious. Have you seen it? Because it does seem.
Wouldn't
weird.
it be more suspicious if there were a flame? There's no oxygen in space. How many times do you have to?
Yeah. No, you're right. So we're trying to apply Earth logic to an atmosphere that we don't understand. Yeah,
that's it. They keep saying because it doesn't look like what it looks like in my experience on Earth, then it's fake. But the ironic thing is that the complete opposite is the case, where it would only look fake if it did look like it does on Earth. If you saw an open flame coming out of the back of that rocket up in space, you'd know it's fake.
Right. So when Stanley Kubrick filmed the moon landing, he knew all this stuff.
That's right. He was so ahead of the game. He had predicted everything. Like, this guy. He's actually the person behind Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking is actually
he's an animatronic.
Stanley Kubrick with his beard shaved off?
Right. So Stanley Kubrick is actually the scientific genius that was able to calculate and figure out the physics of space. And they needed someone credible to actually put it out there in the scientific community and stuff like that after Kubrick had made his movies.
So get a cripple guy, give him a robot voice. Guy, You're controlling the robot voice.
He can't be an actor, because he's not like a Cary Grant type, right? Mm. he's a
hashtag Kubrick, hashtag fake Hawking.
Yeah. So. I just invented this conspiracy, by the way. This isn't one that's
putting it out there.
Stephen Hawking isn't even alive.
I've heard that. I've heard the Stephen Hawking isn't actually alive.
He's a hologram?
He's a hologram. He's animatronic. It's all this weird bullshit, and all the stuff that he's putting out there is just the amalgamation of a bunch of different scientific minds put together.
Well, I mean, it's kind of the easiest animatronic.
Well, yeah, because he's got the robot voice. He doesn't have to actually move too much.
You don't have to make him move, so people aren't analyzing the realism of his movements.
Give him another wife. That one knows too much.
Yeah. Just have him smile when he makes a wry, when he types out a wry joke.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Anyway. Let's talk about the absent stars for a second, because this one comes up in the Fake X conspiracies too.
Okay. So yeah, with the Fake X conspiracy theories in particular, they are pointing out that there are no stars in the background, and they really don't like the explanation that the faint background specks of light aren't picked up by the camera that has to adjust to the bright light that's coming off of the
moon,
the other stuff that's in frame that's illuminated by the sun, right?
Yeah.
So my favorite part of this is that there's no stars except when there are stars. So when you don't have the light bouncing off of the bigger stuff that's in the frame, then you actually do see the stars streaming by in the background as this thing is kind of tumbling through space.
There are no stars except when they're on.
That one doesn't really hold up, does it? Okay.
So I love that.
That would, yeah. But in the cases where there aren't, like for example with the moon landing conspiracy theory, have you ever tried taking a picture of the night sky? Just yeah. What happens?
Yeah, how often do you actually get a Hubble-like picture out of that?
Yeah, right. You're not capturing stars.
Try taking a picture of the moon, and what does it look like? I can
barely take a picture of the moon, actually. The moon itself, which is like...
You're right. It comes off looking like a star kind of thing.
Yeah,
like it's not very bright.
Well, it just comes out looking like a washed-out dot, like a white dot.
Right. Oh, but it's NASA. They should have really powerful cameras that can actually take pictures of the stars, though, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they're called telescopes, but you can't strap a Hubble to every...
Also, the primary mission, a given primary mission, isn't to shoot pictures of the fucking stars in the background. It's to do science in space, right? They're not too concerned about beaming back images of the star field.
Yeah. Which they actually already paid $1 billion for with their telescope.
That's what Hubble's for. That's what the new James Webb telescope is supposed to be for. Sorry, come on.
Yeah. Well, so let's move along there with this moon, with the moon conspiracy. What else have we got? What is, to you, Mark, that you've seen? What do you feel is the highest possibility? Like, I'm looking at the time, and to me, that period in political history is the biggest reason why it would be faked. To prove that we landed there first.
Yeah.
The whole war thing.
If I were to believe in the conspiracy, I think that would be the reason for it, is because of the time period we were,
But that exact same reasoning or rationale justifies why you would want to
actually go there,
put out a conspiracy that discredits what we actually saw happen. Right. There's a whole nother world superpower that had an interest in minimizing, defeating any kind of gains like that from the space program by its opponent, right?
Were conspiracies a thing back then, like it is now? Like, because now it's quite the subgenre.
The JFK kind of started.
Conspiracy has started quite early on.
Right, yeah.
I mean, when was that? That trial that was put on by Kevin
Hart.
No. By Tatanka, the Dances with Wolves guy there. What's his name?
What?
No.
Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner. Yeah. Kevin Costner. He put on a trial about the Zapruder film and all that.
Are you talking about the movie JFK?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see.
Who he was representing.
I got you. Okay.
Okay, my delivery was terrible on that. But I'm actually trying to bring up the original trial that they were portraying in the movie JFK. When did that take place? where they were analyzing the Zapruder film to determine whether or not Lee Harvey Oswald actually was the lone gunman.
I don't know the exact date.
Like, was that in the 60s or in the 70s? Or?
Late 60s, early 70s, probably.
Yeah, I would assume in the years following, but I'm not sure.
Because that trial was all about the conspiracy theory, answering the conspiracy theories. Right.
Back
around his...
and to the left. Back and to the left.
Yes, that's it.
Well, so we have found out, though, that was a conspiracy. Like, we now know that was true. It was a conspiracy. Am I wrong? The JFK thing?
I mean, it's... So what we know is that Lee Harvey Oswald had some questionable history.
Yeah.
And connection to... both the CIA and the KGB, but there's no definitive proof that there's more than one gunman or that Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't a shooter or the shooter.
I don't think we ever could have that proof, though, unless we have someone that's left some sort of a note with a signature on it and going, "This is exactly what happened, and here's my evidence," kind of thing. But that's not going to happen. I mean,
here's what happened. Signed, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
So what we have is plausibility that more planning or more people were involved than just a lone crazy guy.
Right.
But we don't have anything definitive about the main conspiracy theories.
I guess we can say it wasn't what they were claiming it was. There seems to be more to it.
There seems to be, but still, I don't know that there's any definitive conclusion.
Right.
Let's move on from the moon thing because we spent a lot of time on that already. And let's talk about the fake X conspiracies.
Okay, so about fake X specifically, yeah?
Yeah. There's a car in space right now.
Mm-hmm.
And to a lot of people, that seems extremely far-fetched. Like, there's a car in space. There ain't no car in space. Cars go on the ground.
It doesn't comport to what I already know.
It does
I'm
not
comfortable with.
It does not fit with my reality.
Yeah.
Tide comes in, tide goes out. Can't explain that.
But the whole point was to kind of
like my Bill O'Reilly there.
Oh, that was
tide comes in, tide goes out.
It was like a mix between Bill O'Reilly and James Carville.
I don't know what I was doing. The quote was whatever. Anyway,
part Louisiana accent.
But there's a car in space, and people it doesn't mesh with a lot of people's worldview.
But that was the point, right? To come to put out an absurd image. To gin up interest, right?
It just reminded me of like 90s like Monster Magnet. There was a Monster Magnet video
totally,
where he's driving around in a convertible, and that's the video. He's
it makes me
think
of like Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. Do you remember that cartoon?
No,
there was so in the 90s there was this cartoon called Cadillacs and Dinosaurs with like
Cadillacs
people
and dinosaurs
riding around in like these Cadillac convertibles, and there's
were the
dinosaurs running with them.
Were the dinosaurs driving the Cadillacs?
No.
Are you sure?
The humans were like riding the dinosaurs and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I can't really. I never watched it regularly. This
was a documentary.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember that one though. Cartoon.
It was a cartoon. It was a biblical documentary.
Was it like Hanna-Barbera or something like that? Or
I don't know who made the cartoon.
Lower grade.
Yeah, look it up, guys. It's pretty cool imagery though.
Anyone remembers Cadillacs and dinosaurs?
Yeah.
If anyone remembers Cadillacs and dinosaurs, hit us up in the comments. #Cadillacs and dinosaurs.
I kind of wish that the spaceman were a dinosaur.
That would have been really fun.
Like a T-Rex driving the.
But yeah, like I mentioned in the introduction, one of the fake X conspiracies is how Elon Musk killed someone, stuffed the body in a spacesuit, shoved it in the car, and shot it into space.
Well, a great way to lose the body for sure. Better than all the ideas I've had.
Well, I mean, it's just ridiculous that somebody would go to the risk of exposing a body to hundreds of people who are involved in putting together that rocket and putting this car and dummy on the top of the...
Yeah, all we need to do is talk to the person who put the spacesuit in the car.
Yeah.
And
how much did it weigh?
I think that would pretty much debunk
You would think
it right
he would
there.
want to not involve any other person at all in the disposal of a body, let alone put that body on camera for days and days and days.
Yet, what better way though to get rid of it, right?
Sure, yeah.
It's in space now. Ha!
We're gonna
Can't
have to
catch
send
me.
Grissom out into space so he can collect this evidence.
Grissom.
Yeah,
And so who is he supposed to have murdered anyway?
That's totally missing from the conspiracy theory, as far as I've been able to find.
It's weird that they haven't proposed anyone.
Yeah, I know. Did anyone go missing around? Well,
Yeah.
who knows? But yeah, they don't claim
Okay.
that anyone in particular was murdered. They just say he murdered someone and shot him into
It was
space.
an unbeliever.
Yes, one of the... Yeah, okay. So that didn't happen. Or at least there's no evidence to suggest it did.
So some of the other claims of the denialists, the Space X Falcon Heavy denialists.
Is that what we're calling them?
I don't know. That's what I'm calling them right now.
Okay.
They've claimed that in the images that you see of the Earth behind the spaceman, the Earth has corners.
What?
Because instead of seeing like a perfectly semicircular arc on the edge of the planet Earth, you see like some distortion, so that it either appears like kind of oblong, like sort of like the tip of an egg.
Earth is flat.
Or
Earth is flat.
yeah, or depending on where the planet appears in the frame of the shot, the distortion can be at different parts of the planet. So it almost looks like there's a corner to it, right?
Okay,
Like a rounded corner.
So are we talking like it basically was filmed with a wide angle lens and so it's distorting or whatever
Pretty
the
much,
case may be?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, well, that also speaks to another part of why they think it's fake, is that when you do see the moon in the background. Oh, by the way, the fact that you don't see the moon in the background is part of the proof. But when you do see there's a moon in the background, the other part of the proof is that that moon is too small. Because
like the main thing they rely on is just totally moving the goalposts every
Yeah.
time some kind of evidence is presented. Okay, well, it's just when you don't see it that it has to be fake. Then, even if the other part completely disproves that, I don't understand.
Well, it is people trying to make sense of things they can't possibly understand, and so they're applying their logic.
But that's
that doesn't
the problem.
Really work.
Like it's all argument from ignorance. Like most of it is just incredulity, just the emotive expression of incredulity. That's the strongest part of their argument.
Well, I don't understand it, so it has to be this.
Yeah. They speak with like an impassioned certitude, and then they scoff with complete smug certainty that
doesn't make any sense, so you have to be wrong.
Yeah,
kind of deal.
That doesn't make any sense to you because you're an ignorant fucktard.
Well, yeah. That aside,
makes them upset, Jill.
Well, I mean, they're out there. Their favorite label now for people who understand cosmology is to call them globetards.
Globetards.
Yeah, that's their favorite labal now. Globetards, or sometimes ballers.
So
Which I kind of like that one. That kind of sounds like I'm making it rain.
Jesus. So the prefix or the suffix tard is just slapped on to anything.
Yeah.
These days.
Hold up, I would suggest
It's just slinging insults back and
in
forth
our communicating,
which I'm guilty
we should
of
be
course.
We should be wary of calling them tards and stuff like that, because
Yeah.
then it would basically close up the brain even further.
Sure.
And so
but
it limits
not
their capacity to take in more information or new information, sort of thing. Right?
Yeah, on the other side.
Shut up, Snowflake.
Yeah. On the other side of that, a lot of these people, like there's a threshold that you go beyond where you're kind of irretrievable. Like you're already at that shut off point. Like it doesn't matter how nice you couch what you're saying. If they see it as a deception or a certain stupidity, they don't care how nice you talk about it. You know what I mean?
Some people are really committed to their belief in these conspiracy theories. Like in particular with the fake X one, just I was trolling through Twitter earlier to search for the fake X hashtag to see what I could come up with. And it's a lot of... Obviously, I don't know if it's obvious, but the flat earthers seem to cling to this fake X thing more than anyone else for some reason. I can't figure out what the connection is.
Well, I mean, there's a connection with all of these conspiracy theories, right? Like, believers in one conspiracy theories are infinitely more likely to believe in other conspiracy theories.
Right. If
you believe in the SpaceX hoax, then you also believe in a fake moon landing. You also will tend to believe in the quote unquote scientism conspiracy, like even going out to things like climatology and evolution, which have nothing to do with space.
Yeah. There's a lot of anti-NASA sentiment too.
That NASA is entirely in itself a hoax.
For example, one tweet here: what does NASA, SpaceX, and WWE all have in common? They're all fake. Hashtag flat Earth. Hashtag fake X.
Yeah.
Using a lot of hashtags today. That's entirely appropriate.
This is education by meme.
Yeah, they're throw out to the Illuminati and Freemasonry.
Memeversity.
It's really fascinating stuff. But before we get into the psychology of why people believe in conspiracy theories, which is something I definitely want to touch on at least a little bit briefly, let's read a couple more of these fake X tweets, just because some of them are really amusing.
Okay.
Okay, here's one. Like, oh my god, Tesla car in space has a condensation problem. Apparently the car has condensation on it. Can't possibly be because there's no... You can't have condensation.
Where does it have condensation?
I don't know. There's a video attached. I haven't watched it. I don't think it's worth watching. Accidental flash looks much easier to prove than a car being released from a payload bay in 0.2 of a second into outer space in quotations. Research Falcon Heavy fail, firmament fake X, Earth not a globe. All hashtags.
I love that in this day and age, people are still using the word firmament unironically.
There's one here. It's just a photo of the spaceman thing and Will Smith with his Men in Black memory eraser.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Oh, because of the reflection.
Could be. Yeah, the flash could be it.
No, that's not that's actually the sun in the background.
No, this is inside the payload bay.
Oh, that's inside the payload bay.
Yeah. But the flash thing is what people
are. You sure?
Yeah, because you can see the walls of the craft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the people are hanging on to the momentary flash thing, exposing a camera within the studio, supposedly. So that's, There's one in Spanish, a couple of them in Spanish. So,
but this is momentary, like as the payload bay is being blown open?
Yeah.
Okay, well, how come you don't see any of those points of light before it opens up?
I don't know.
Okay, well,
doesn't it make sense that you would start to see light as the thing is opening up?
The truth of the matter is that, let's say, even economically, it would be cheaper to fake it than to actually do it.
Yeah.
So, and it could very well be fake, and we wouldn't know. There would be no evidence of it being fake if someone were to.
Well, there would be a lot of evidence, because one of the problems with conspiracy theories is that it involves an extremely unlikely level of fidelity among the conspiracists, like not the conspiracy theorists, among the conspiracists, who have to all keep the secret collectively.
Someone came up with an equation.
There's way too many people involved with that kind of a conspiracy.
Yeah,
it
to
actually
because no one would believe them anyways. Integrity. They wouldn't really matter.
Someone came up with an equation to determine the level or the amount of people it would take to keep a conspiracy, or to realize a conspiracy, and to keep it quiet afterwards. And you can apply this equation.
Well, I mean, let's acknowledge though that conspiracies do exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like you do get organized crime and
sure, yeah, of course, but then it's no longer a conspiracy once it's proven. It's just a fact, right?
Well, what I think you're getting at is that a lot of conspiracy theories, or a lot of conspiracy is occurring and is never caught, and
it's about the elaborateness of the conspiracy theories, right? Like the ones that are absurd and out there and seem to catch on this kind of cultural level. They're like a different level of conspiracy than the ones involving like a gang of bank robbers or
the mafia,
a couple of people that help
right?
each other to murder someone else, you know.
Right.
And so they get so large that it would literally involve hundreds of people at different stages of the conspiracy to hold it together, right? And that's what just makes it weaker and weaker and weaker.
Here's another one. Another one from Twitter. This is a game changer, and watch all the fanboys run to back up and make excuses for the perps. Google and YouTube allowed Fake X to rewrite history by allowing them to do what no other channel can do, edit their live video from the Falcon Heavy. Felony Musk is a fraud.
Yeah, you were talking about the video editing.
Yeah, I was telling you about this. So in the live feed on the day of the launch, you know the two side boosters,
right,
that kind of remotely landed themselves?
Yeah.
So they had cameras kind of pointing back towards like in the direction of the thrusters so that you could see the landing pad as they're landing.
I remember that.
And during the live feed, apparently they had like a split screen so that you could see the feed coming from each of the two boosters, but what they were displaying up during the live feed was actually the same the feed from the same booster.
Yeah.
So you saw the landing. The two landing pads were marked different, so you could tell that they were the different ones. One of them had like a black dot in the middle of it, and the other one had a white dot. Mm-hmm. And anyway, so during the live feed, you could only see the one with the white dot.
Right.
So after the fact, when they saw that.
Oh, we have to include the blacks now.
Video.
The black dot now.
Yeah, right.
What is this, the
Oscars?
Oscars?
They just updated the video so that the second screen actually did show, so that people could actually see the other feed that was intended to be shown. Mm-hmm. They just put that video, added that video to the
changing history.
Right, and so they're calling this a change of history and
editing the live video. That's not what happened. They switched the feed.
Yeah,
that's all. Right?
That's it. Yes,
that's all that happened. Yeah.
But so there's one thing about this that I do feel kind of sympathetic towards is this the thing that a lot of these videos of Spaceman and stuff like that you're finding on YouTube or elsewhere online, they keep calling them live video and live feed when they're not, because the Spaceman video only went for a few hours.
It was live at the time.
It was live at the time. That's it. But they keep labeling them live, so people are like are Googling this stuff and going to these places where it's being labeled as if it were live, but it's just looped.
Yeah, it was live.
I do think the conspiracy of controlling the feed is much more interesting. Like with the original moon landing, that 2 minutes where they cut off and they supposedly encountered aliens or discussed aliens for that 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. You've heard this
guys,
before,
we've got some aliens up here, and they're
and it has been documented from people that were listening to whatever it was, their CB radios or something like that, and actually recorded that dialogue there that occurred.
Yeah, I don't think they used the word aliens in that dialogue. They said they're watching us or something.
Yeah.
But they used the word they, so we don't know what they are or who they are. They could just be people on Earth watching the stream or whatever.
Right, watching the TV.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Still, there does seem to be evidence of NASA hiding footage of UFOs, and by that I just mean stuff they're not able to identify. You will see it show up and then just cut off from what they're calling the live feed. The live feed will cut off as soon as you see something suspicious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen some videos like that.
Yeah, the truthers, as they call them, demand that NASA explain it or just keep the live feed live. You know, I don't know what's going on, but I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
what are we seeing? Let's ask NASA.
Well, I mean, so one of the characteristics of the conspiracy theorists is that they really don't like I don't know.
Yeah.
They like it's really hard for them to be able to admit that. They in their minds, I don't know is an utterance that diminishes your credibility.
Yeah.
If you say you don't know something, well, then you don't know anything.
I see. That touches on
whereas apparently you have more credibility if you claim to know shit you don't have a fucking clue about.
Yeah, and that touches directly on the
Jill's
desire
getting upset.
I'm getting pissed.
That first item that why people believe in conspiracy theories, like the desire for understanding and certainty.
Yeah.
So they need to feel certain. And these conspiracy theories offer them a simple explanation that they can immediately grasp and be positive about, right? I know this now.
I guess there lies your psychological problem.
Right.
The search for certainty, because it doesn't actually exist.
Right.
There has to always be room for this may not be real.
A lot of people are just uncomfortable with the, like you were saying, Jill, with the I don't know, or they see I don't know as an admission of, well, what do you know then?
Right, it becomes a threat.
Psychologically, there's this concept of like aversion or tolerance of ambiguity or intolerance of ambiguity. These are like a big determinant of some different kind of personality types, and they've correlated this kind of intolerance of ambiguity with a lot of other traits. So like if you don't like things like I don't know or answers that aren't definitive, you're very likely to also be in other ways authoritarian. Or
so someone's employer, great.
or to adhere to sort of a more dogmatic way of thinking, to adhere to things like a religious dogma or something like that.
Right.
You're more likely to be politically conservative. Hate to say it, but. No, I don't hate to say it. I'm definitely biased in that regard.
He loves to say it, but just hates.
I'm a bleeding heart lib.
Libtard.
I'm a libtard.
So
yeah.
Sorry, do you have anything else on that? Because I was about to launch into the desire for control and security.
Well, there you go. Yeah, and so that's part of it too.
Yeah.
That'll correlate with the intolerance of ambiguity.
Yeah, because people need to feel that they're in control of their lives, and these conspiracy theories offer them that kind of security or that sense of control, because now they're in the know in a way, right? I can now that I have this knowledge, I can feel comfortable and secure in just knowing this, right? They can. Just a quote from that article, conspiracy theories can give the believers a sense of control and security. It's especially true when the alternative account feels threatening. For example, if global temperatures are rising catastrophically due to human activity, then I'll have to make painful changes to accommodate my current comfortable lifestyle.
So we're pointing out denial, basically.
In a way, yeah, it can be denial. Like you're denying the other side of it because that makes you feel uncomfortable and out of control.
So scaredy cats. Bunch of scaredy cats making up bullshit and going, no, it's got to be this way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I found illustrated this was the complaints about the globe behind Starman not being literally pear-shaped. Because like scientists and cosmologists have explained that the shape of the Earth isn't a perfect sphere because of the different gravitational forces and the rotation. It's actually what's called an oblate spheroid, which merely means that the southern hemisphere is slightly fatter than the northern hemisphere.
It's a lumpy sphere. It's a potato.
Sure, but in the minds of the conspiracy theorists who will use this as an argument or latch on to the fact that the planet looks round in the background, they want like an all or nothing. They want a literal pear shape, something that's literally in the shape of the fruit called a pear.
Because that's what they said.
So they want something where the northern hemisphere is about 50% the diameter of the southern hemisphere. Anything less than that proportion, I guess, is conspiracy theory worthy or just isn't there. So if the what do you call it? The circumference of, let's say, halfway up the southern hemisphere is only something like 1% larger than the northern hemisphere. That's not enough, because if you were to look at that with the naked eye from 10,000 miles away, you wouldn't really see that pear shape to the eye. And because it's so small, then there's a conspiracy there. Because, I can't handle the uncertainty or the ambiguity.
Right. Ambiguity leaves
of
me
something
scared.
Measurable, but that I can't see with my own eyes.
Right.
Things at large scales are hard to
grasp. Yeah.
I can't understand. I'm scared.
I'm scared, so you're wrong. And then we come to the desire to maintain a positive self-image. So research shows that people who feel socially marginalized are more likely to believe in conspiracy theories.
It seems like it's very much tangled up in the ego, right? Like it's all about being able to be confident that you weren't taken for a ride by someone else.
Yeah,
that you outsmarted somebody else who was trying to outsmart you. It's all about like a kind of contest of egos.
Well, it's kind of funny because in a sense, to lose an ego or to diminish an ego is the ability to say I don't know and I have no clue and be comfortable with that sort of thing, I guess.
Yeah. So conspiracy theorists will often it's the echo chamber effect again, right? They'll get together and seek out people who also believe in a given conspiracy theory, and they'll foster that sense of social inclusion. They now have an in-group that they feel part of.
Yeah, which also correlates very strongly to like right-wing authoritarianism and this kind of intolerance of ambiguity, and it goes for this. It tends towards this kind of in-group, out-group type casting or kind of worldview. Where you have to protect the in-group from an out-group, and you have to be able to categorize your in-group versus an other.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what we're supposed to do with this, with the knowledge that there are these correlations.
What do we do?
What do we do with that?
Yeah, when faced with someone who is deeply, deeply set in believing a given conspiracy, do we entertain that belief, or do we try to...
Well, there would be no reason to entertain a belief. I mean, if I've gotten together with all my friends and we all believe that puddles can think, and we've got our little group and people are telling us, no, that's not true, and then we're all...
It's a really specific example.
It doesn't make any sense to entertain it at all. Why would we entertain non-truths?
Well, ironically, I think that you could actually go there. Because haven't you claimed before this kind of philosophical or metaphysical idea of everything having consciousness?
Oh yeah.
So basically, the puddle would have consciousness, and that means the puddle can think.
Well, it's not to say that it can think, but it is a part of thinking. Yeah.
Okay, no,
now we're going into a whole other road. Forget it.
But okay, I'm gonna quote from the... We're not going there. I'm going to quote from the end of this article.
Now I totally think puddles think.
Regardless of the outcome of future... No, not that part. You may offer counter-evidence in an attempt to convince someone to give up conspiracy theories, but you're unlikely to succeed. That's because you're arguing facts, while Uncle Joe is defending his sense of security and his positive feelings about himself. And for all of us, self-image trumps facts.
Well, that's right. And so
for all of us, actually, that's actually something to acknowledge as well. Even though there are demographics who aren't so uncomfortable with ambiguity. Even those people who are comfortable with ambiguity will also have an ego as part of their psychology, and will also tend to...
That's why it's so difficult for people to say, I was wrong about that.
Yeah.
It's the ego saying, no, you can't be wrong. You're going to look like an idiot if you admit that, right?
Yeah.
And so this is something that I want to touch on. Like, we have to allow for the space for them to be able to do that. So we have to, in a sense, if we're portraying non-ignorance, and we're supposed to be the people that are spreading non-ignorance, then we have to do it in a very gentle way, in the sense, so that they can even begin to open up to be able to accept it and go, oh, maybe I'm wrong about this. And, in a sense, we have to that we have to look at...
We're not portraying non-ignorance because we don't claim to know everything, but I think what we are trying to promote, at least, is sort of an intellectual honesty, where you have like the humility to reserve judgment until you do have
sufficient evidence.
Well, this is what I mean.
To make a claim one way or another.
I think what we're attempting to do is speak on behalf of non-ignorance.
Right.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, that's what we're trying to do with this show.
I like
this
that.
podcast.
I like that. Yeah, speak on behalf of non-ignorance. It comes down to critical reasoning, right? The default position is to not believe something until you're given sufficient evidence to do so. Like in the case of conspiracy theories, like the moon landing or fake X, there's the evidence that's presented as factual in support of these conspiracy theories is really not substantive at all. Like you can't. It's all totally disconnected from reality, right? And when presented with counter examples that would debunk those conspiracy theories
or explanations, they're immediately dismissible.
Yeah, the immediate reaction is to recoil and latch onto it harder because of that loss of ego. Or the damage to self-esteem.
I mean, ironically, the conspiracists will often assert that if nothing else, they're getting people to question things.
Right.
Right.
That's what gets me. Like they're trying to get people to question things.
And they'll say like it's always good to question, and
but
at
they
least
won't
we're getting
question
people to
their
question
own
things.
beliefs.
But in fact, what we see isn't any kind of actual like reasoned kind of critical skepticism of things. Instead, what we're seeing is like an emotive incredulity, like kind of an absolutist kind of all or nothing. Either I have to guess on the right side of the issue or the wrong side of the issue, so I have to say no, that's wrong or that's right. You know.
Have you guys ever heard of street epistemology?
Street epistemology?
Yeah,
no,
I
I've
have.
never heard of it.
Yeah, this Anthony Magnavosco guy has been going around. I think it comes from Peter Boghossian.
It might. I don't know what the origin is, but the basic premise is you go out on the street and talk to people and ask what they believe and why and how do they know things and what led them to that knowledge, and you're engaging people in that kind of conversation. And this is something I would like to do with...
Well, essentially it's the Socratic method.
Yeah, they apply the Socratic method. And
you're just asking questions to get somebody else to lead themselves.
How do you know that, right?
To question
you're asking them how they know something and what their method is to get to that conclusion, without directly asking, well, how do you know? Because that's just a really odd way of doing it.
Right, and it's combative.
But I would love to do this with a conspiracy theorist, someone who believes in fake X or the moon landing hoax or whatever, and just be like, well, why? Essentially, why do you believe that? How did you come to that conclusion? What do you have that backs up your claim? And just have an open and honest conversation with somebody. And I think that would be, Luke, like what you were trying to get at, is give them the room to question their belief. In a way, you're opening that door to them and maybe just implanting a seed of doubt or the ability to think critically about why it is they think they know this to be a fact.
And they may not be able to do it in that conversation itself because the ego would stand in the way. But you could penetrate possibly, and then later on lead to some sort of evolution within them, sort of thing in their mind. Or
yeah, like the thing about street epistemology specifically is that you may not, like you said, be able to get through to them in that moment during that conversation, but you're getting them, they go away thinking about the conversation at the end of it. Right? They're like, well, do I believe this? In the best of circumstances, you have people questioning their beliefs.
And what I mean by getting someone to question their beliefs, I think that the only way, or the best way to do it, I shouldn't say only way, because as soon as I say only this or only that, I'm exactly wrong.
You're being absolutist. You're just like
being a fascist.
But like the only way to do that, to penetrate in any way, would be to present it in some sort of a gentle manner that doesn't have ill will,
right?
Or doesn't appear to have ill will, because I think it's this idea that there is ill will that leads people to fear in and of itself, kind of thing, and then come to ridiculous conclusions in their mind, like circling information and going, that is exactly right, and anything outside of that circle is conflicting with what I've circled here. So
the few videos of street epistemology that I've seen have all just been gentle conversations. They're talking, they're having a conversation about a particular belief, and why they think they know that to be true. Right? It's not non-combative for the most part. Like sometimes you'll get somebody who's just like, well, fuck off kind of deal, but for the most part, people are genuinely open to having these dialogues because they like talking about what they believe in and why.
Right.
So I think that it would be a fun exercise. Maybe we can
with
have
a conspiracy theory. Yeah, because I've only seen it done with regards to theism and religion.
Same. But even then, it's usually pretty open. They're pretty cool about it.
Yeah. They seem like productive kind of conversations.
Yeah.
Check out this Anthony Magnavosco, Street Epistemology, on YouTube.
Shout out to Street Epistemology.
Any street epistemologists would like to sponsor the show. Hashtag.
They've got no money.
They're begging for.
Yeah, degree in philosophy doesn't really pay off. At least I'm told. I don't know. I don't have one, so can't really speak to that. Final thoughts on fake space.
I have no final thoughts.
Final thoughts on fake space. I would say it just seems what seems absurd to me is that people can just deny like hundreds and even a couple thousand years of research and scholarship and knowledge gathering in science. They can just dismiss all of that out of hand, knowing that they themselves don't have anything near the kind of education and credentials to be educated enough to.
But they don't have the education or mental faculty to be able to.
I don't know that they don't have. I think most of these people do have the mental faculty. Like listening to the way these people speak, like they obviously have a social facility. They organize their flat Earth societies, and they put together these
members all around the globe.
Yeah, right. Can a person be incredibly smart about stupid shit? And the answer is yes.
The answer is obviously yes.
Yes. People can be incredibly intelligent about really, really stupid, nonsensical shit.
Oh yeah, like I've seen people rationalize the most absurd nonsense.
Oh, that's another thing I've heard in psychology is that actually the smarter you are, the better you are at rationalizing your false beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Right. But that in and of itself is an unintelligence. It's intelligence.
It's like a blind spot.
I think it's a misapplication of one's critical reasoning skills.
Yeah.
Maybe intelligence too.
Right.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a like kind of unintelligence.
You get
retards.
You get better at constructing logical fallacies if
I mean slow.
If you know how they work and stuff, right?
I think that also speaks to the within certain circles anyway, the current era of anti-intellectualism. Like they don't people for some reason, maybe conspiracy theorists, they don't respect experts anymore. Right? They see,
for one thing, they conflate experts with authority.
Right.
They don't understand the difference between expertise and authority.
Well, hold on. Often an expert is someone that is speaking in sound bites, kind of thing, just trying to organize it into a very neat package. And often there is something lacking. A true expert in a field would be incomprehensible to us if we're not educated in that field, because it would be, in a sense, they'd be speaking in a very particular jargon.
Yeah, it's two totally different games to show your work, right, and elaborate your the research you've done and all of the math and write out the math, and to then go and dumb that down for a mass audience who doesn't have any math background.
There's going to be errors in your dumbing down of it. Like there's going to be.
There's obviously not going to be a one-to-one representation because you're using analogy, which is necessarily
like the
employing counterfactuals, right? You're
The whole problem with language itself is that we need to, if to communicate things in general, it's like we have to have ground and base fundamental agreements to even start a conversation.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why any proper debate should start with the definition of terms that you're debating, because otherwise people are coming at it from different directions and you won't establish what you're talking about.
It would be so time consuming. Like,
well,
we often
yes
just skip that entire step.
No,
you know?
It is time consuming, but it's really important to have an honest discussion about something. Because if you don't define your terms, then what are we talking about?
Yeah. But this does often lack. Like, we can say that, for example, hard science may be doing this and defining the terms and this and that. You know, if it's good, proper science, that is occurring. Yeah. But when it comes to like the social sciences, that is not the case. Like, it's just left in the abstract, and it's often left very vague and turned into a
I don't think so. I think the problem is that the problem with the social sciences is that everybody who's got an opinion thinks they can do social science or thinks that they're doing social science.
Right.
When there is a much more structured thing that is social science, that where they actually do show their work. You know, they actually are doing research with with like large samples, statistical samples, and they're
I guess what I'm getting at is that it's much less solid. Like, it's not speaking in terms of solidnesses.
Yeah, but
like
all I'm getting back is all I'm trying to get to is
sure, it's taken a while there, Gilles.
It's just that the subject matter is to some extent kind of compelling because it's close to what people already do in their own minds, right? People analyze the world around them and form opinions about it. And when you're talking about social sciences, you're very close to that kind of thing. Whereas STEM subjects, they're not as kind of threatening or contradictory or even relevant to the stuff that goes on in our mind every day because those aren't examples of like social interactions that we have every day. And yet social sciences is about those social interactions that we have every day. That's why
we call them social sciences.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway. No? What were you saying? What was I arguing against something you were saying?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you were saying that the social sciences are not rigorous.
Not that they're not so much rigorous. It's that like I'm thinking of psychology and how psychology has always aspired to be a hard science, and it's not. You know, it's soft and mushy, and I don't know.
But people don't accurately portray the degree of softness and mushiness of it. They'll often apply the absolutist all or nothing, black or white kind of.
And it's a problem.
It's not hard. It's soft.
It's a problem in the use of language there and stuff like that. Like, in a sense, to speak of truths would be really time consuming because it would take a hell of a lot of talking about talking and pre-talking to explain the talking.
Pre-talking. Yeah. I just lost my thought, so I'm not going to complete it.
Okay.
Anyway, I got nothing. This was
final thoughts, Mark. Come on, final thoughts.
Your final thoughts.
Come on, Mark. Come on, Mark.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Final thoughts. Weird topic.
What, this one, the fake space thing?
Fake space is totally weird.
Yeah.
I didn't do as much research as I would liked to have done, but when it comes to conspiracy theories, like you were saying earlier, I think we need to allow a certain latitude to allow people to come to grips with the fact that, like I said earlier, they're wrong. We need to give them that opportunity to come to that realization on their own, because trying to force it with counterfacts simply doesn't work. Because the ego comes in again. There's I don't know. There's like a catch-22 there. Like, we've also talked in the past about how today more than ever it's easy to shut yourself into an echo chamber. You know, to find echo chambers and lock yourself in one. And
right, my group of friends gathered around that puddle. So
that you're if left to your own devices, if left to your complete kind of aversion to considering establishment knowledge, then you're more equipped than ever to just reinforce your denial and ignorance and alternative facts.
Yep. Let's leave it at that, because this is the first time we've done this, but we're going to tease our next episode because we have another crazy conspiracy theory coming up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It'll be a crazy one.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one.
I'm not going to mention what it is. Keep everyone on their toes until the next episode. But for now...
Well, what is it? What is it?
Oh, you'll find out. But for now, this has been Critical Junction episode 34. I'm Mark.
I'm Luke.
I'm Jill.
And until next time... Wait a minute. No, that's not how it goes. I have to thank people first.
Thinking critically?
No, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
As always, thanks for listening. And until next time, keep thinking critically.